Welcome back, everyone. It's time for ReBoot versus Aura, our second matchup here tonight. We're nearing the end of our team league here, the regular season portion of it, of course. We're in our KDL Preseason. My name is Wolf. I'm joined by Peter, and we're about to welcome ReBoot to the stage.
ReBoot, they are right now currently 4th place in the rankings, so if they can keep that up, they are basically securing the last ticket to the postseason. They really want to hang on to it.
Yeah, it is a really important race for them, and it is against a very challenging opponent. As see the team coming out, Pure, the item ace, see what plays he can make in this series. Has been really critical in these last few matches, really to have a strong item ace to make that impact. As Aura, I think, coming in as somewhat of a dark horse this tournament, but has really shown up and has really only taken losses to Live Sandbox, right, and Sensation, who had a really big upset win, and that was early on in the season where Hojun was able to take out Hero. And otherwise have looked very dominant, have 2-0'd each and every other team they faced. So a team that right now is very strong, and I think could be one of the teams to upset when we move into postseason, if they can hold on to, of course, that top 4 spot. As you were saying, a win tonight will put them at 4-2, and a loss would put them at 3-3 with KWANGDONGFREECS as their final opponent. So that's not a place you want to find yourself in at the end of the season.
Yeah, I was so fixated on Aura as a team being so strong right now in that 4th place standing. It was actually ReBoot coming in first, so ReBoot is 5th place in the standings right now. They are only 1 win behind Aura, so if they can win today, it is going to be huge.
Definitely would be. Take a look at some of the stats here for ReBoot, as despite Looning's fierce performance, or RBT, ReBoot on a 4 straight speed losing streak. So it has been items to bring them to ace matches they've relied on in their last few wins. But see the stats here looking pretty good in general overall. And let's see what they have to say. Please defeat Sensation first.
Wow.
Before coming to places. Wow.
Oh, well, I mean, that was a good diss until today because Sensation was the lowest standing team, but
that's
now,
a double diss. I'm like, wow, come on.
but Sensation did win today, so you can't really use that as a diss anymore.
Let's take a look at Aura here. A little bit of a stretch coming through from Nock, who really looking forward to seeing how he's going to perform today. You can see in terms of average speed ranks here, pretty solid across the board.
Very nice.
Some sub-10s here, 7th and 8th there as well for Hero and Nock. So looking very good in terms of their individual performances, and the item mode for this team has not been a weakness. I'd say they're very consistent across the board. I think they're lacking some of the star power in this roster that we've seen on teams like Live Sandbox and KWANGDONG, but they're really just on the cusp. They're right on the edge. Don't even worry about it.
That is pretty rough. Definitely a lot of confidence in Aura winning against ReBoot today. Doesn't seem like they have even a shred of worry.
I feel like the English translation of that makes it seem nicer than it really is as well. Like, it's a very aggressive, like, in your dreams, you know, like, you could ever take me. Even that feels like it's putting it nicely, but yeah, very aggressive statement here from Aura. And I think the clear favorites, in my mind, going into this series. I could see even us having a 2-0 here, but we'll see what ReBoot has brought to the table. As speed track list going from Mine Rickety Rails, which would be Aura's first track pick, into Winding Slopes, then Extreme Stadium picked by Aura here. Then we'll go to Boom Hill Tunnel and finish with Terracotta Twister if necessary.
Right, so the concerning thing for ReBoot here is that Aura is the better speed team so far. Out of 5 matches, the speed they played, they won 3 of them, whereas ReBoot, they've only won 1 speed match out of 5. So the fact that ReBoot has that first track pick, it's definitely not the type of advantage you want to see. And it's basically all down to the item mode if ReBoot is unable to find their angle here.
Yeah, it is going to be rough. And like you say, they don't have track priority, so they have 1 less track selection. So that does hurt.
Or they have no confidence today to lose that.
No confidence to lose. I think that's a great way of saying they've got a lot of confidence to win. Let's move into our first track here. Mine Rickety Rails, to find out which one of these 2 teams is going to take the lead. off we go here. Speed round 1, ReBoot and Aura in a fierce competition for qualifying for postseason.
Yeah, and so far in Aura's track, Aura is doing their thing. 1, 2, 3 looking really good right now. Hero, all he needs to do is block out Kosu. We see Navi coming in to that 5th position as well, blocking out 3 members alone.
Yeah, it's very common to have one player in the middle of the pack when you have a 1-2 or 1-2-3 control like this, because they're going to create a lot of disruption alone. So I would argue even oftentimes having a 1-2-3-5 is better than having a 1-2-3-4, because now Hero can affect a lot of people here. As you can see, he's just constantly trying to create chaos here by himself, sweeping incredibly well.
Yeah, Hero taking so many aggressive cuttings. If you look at him right now, he was able to set back load quite a bit. So many aggressive plays out of Hero, and the sweeping has been working fantastically.
Yeah, he's like, I'm trying to sweep them, but I'm also beating them, so it's pretty easy. As
Kosu dies off that.
He gets knocked into the wall there, and he wanted to try to take a more aggressive turn to avoid that collision with Hero, but Hero just knows the track better, and Kosu takes the risky call at the worst possible time. Now finding himself in 8th place. One less person for Hero to deal with here as he protects C's and Nox 1-2 finish.
He keeps tackling into Looning every time he comes to the left, like, nope, you're not going past me. But right now, Load and Looning finally managed to find their footing above Hero. Now it's up to Navi to block them out, because 1-2 is still a very strong hold.
I mean, Navi is also just blocking Load out here. Looning is trying to get the privilege to even be blocked by Navi, as Nock and C's are so far ahead. I mean, we're talking about a 2-3 second lead here as they get the 1-2 finish. So easy here. Load about 2 seconds behind there in terms of the finish, just about. That is a pretty dominant victory here for Aura. Again, expected, in my mind, based on the dominance we've seen from Aura in speed in particular, but not a good look for ReBoot to start things off. This is definitely something you could recover from. But the start of these races today has just really been the more dominant team gets a better start and controls it. As you see, it's about, what, 1.8 seconds or so, the gap between C's and Load, and almost a full 2 there from 1st to 3rd. Very dominant win.
We have to give a lot of credit to Hero in this game. His sweeping just completely set apart the members of ReBoot. They couldn't really respond at all once they lost that momentum. And Hero coming in as the 2022 Royal Roader, so far showing why he was able to make that title for himself. We're really looking forward to that matchup coming in between Looning especially, who is the rising star of ReBoot. And so far, Looning, he didn't really do well in that first track. So hopefully in the second track, he was able to find better angles in mind-winding slopes. Off we go into track number 2. We have Aura once again looking really strongly in the lead.
Load trying to go for a cut to the left there. Interesting considering his team actually had a great start there, and he actually could have pulled ahead by just going straight, but wanted to go stick to the plan, but ended up hurting a lot of his momentum, in fact. And once again, it's a pretty stacked lineup here for Aura. Not as strong as it was, obviously, in the previous track where they actually had a 1-4 for a moment, but still, C's in control right now. Nock actually able to easily move into second, as Looning is challenging here. This is exactly where you want to have Looning. Like you said, this is one of our dark horse players, one of our rising stars, but wasn't in position to do so last time around. This time, he's actually going to be able to fight for first place here. He can put a lot of points on the board for his team if he can control this, but he's going to have to get there first. Ooh, nice block from C's.
Yeah, Looning, he wasn't able to get past C's there. Now C's having a really solid lead. Now Nock coming in as well in order to try to tackle Looning, but Looning does manage to find a way out.
Really aggressive Nitro here from Nock as well, right through that narrow passageway, knowing he has enough space here.
Oh, Looning!
Oh, no.
He gets caught against the wall.
Man, that Nitro usage from Nock there had him close the gap really quickly, and then I think Looning was feeling the pressure, collides into the wall, and Aura looking to, again, just look for the 1-2 finish here. And, I mean, there's just nothing Load could do. He's just too far behind, doesn't have the Nitro he needs. Kosu just going to have some fun here at the end of this one. As soon as the 1-2 is done, doesn't matter where the rest of your team places, frankly. Might affect some of your stats, but Aura is just farming this team right now. And Looning had a great start, was challenging for a while, but just one collision into the wall, and we might get a closer look at it after this, but that's the kind of mistake you just can't be making, unfortunately, at this level of play. And Looning is a player that I feel like I'm almost the most attached to because he's had so many great runs. He was so good at the beginning of the season. And I was like, no one's talking about this guy. He's so good. Give this guy credit. But when it has mattered most in some of these ace matches, he lost that one against Hojun. In the solo matches, he choked a little bit, didn't live up to expectations. And once again here with a very small mistake, but small mistakes like this, we'll take a look at it, can really hurt you.
Yeah, this was the exact moment when Looning, he drifted a little too far.
Yeah, unforced error too. No collision with the enemy players, just completely too aggressive on the turn, as you say.
Yeah, he held it a bit too long. That happens to me a lot, and it definitely does a lot of wreaking havoc in the pro stage. So hopefully in this next track, it is picked by Aura themselves. We're looking to close out 3-0 in Glacier Extreme Stadium.
Off we go. As you say, Aura looking for the 3-0 here. Good start for ReBoot now if they can do well on this first turn. Things breaking up a little bit here, but definitely one of their better starts here as Looning once again fighting for that first place spot. We'll see if the rest of the team can keep up.
And Hero was the member for Aura with so many 6 sweeps in that track number 1. And we can see him taking that same position once again in this track number 3, keeping Kosu and Load at bay, Nock in the first place lead, and he's got 2 members for backup.
Certainly does. Right now, fighting against Looning directly here in essentially a 1v1 battle. So no one else is nearby.
Yeah, Looning doesn't have any backup because Hero keeps sweeping them behind.
Yeah, exactly. This is a really big problem is 1v3 alone, you're not going to be able to do this. Now, even if you get first place, they'll take the 2-3-4 and win the race anyways. So Looning needs more backup here, but Na'Vi and Hero, you can see in the picture of the bottom right, look at how much work Hero is doing, constantly creating collisions. Looks like he's falling behind, but he actually takes an aggressive cut where he's not looking for speed, he's looking for disruption. And you can just see off of our main camera here how many problems that ReBoot have outside of Looney's mini game here to try to get first place. Now we see Ding and Kosu passing Hero and Na'Vi. They have gotten through the sweeping, so Looning could turn this one around with just a first place finish here. We're in the last part of this second lap now, but look at the blocks coming out from C's. Looning needs to make something aggressive happen here, maybe with a Team Nitro, because this is it all or nothing right now.
Right, the strategy right now for Looning is to break that 1-2. It's even better if you get into that first place, but C's comes out. He's able to knock Looning a bit into the wall, and that's going to lose a lot of momentum.
And Hero also getting some momentum as well, passing again here. So Aura now with a 1-2, but also so much more control here. 5th and 6th, 400 meters to go. Ding with an aggressive cut.
Ding, no, he got booped into the air. That's going to kill his momentum. And Aura with a dominating 1-2.
I mean, I love what he tried to do there, because that's the only way you're going to break into that top 2. But, you know, with the way the track works there, if you hit the edge, that corner there, when you take that wide, or rather that narrow, whichever way you put it, that inner of a turn there, midair, the bounce will occur. Like when you actually collide with the ground, you'll lose your speed. The less time you spend in the air, the better. And unfortunately, he spent quite a lot of it there in the air and will not be able to break through the top 2. So it's a 1-2 finish here and a 3-0 for Aura on speed. As expected, it feels like a lot of our starts to these series have been on script, with both Sensation and Aura looking very good in the mode that they're most known in, speed.
Yeah, we definitely identified Aura as a team much stronger than ReBoot in speed so far, because they've had so many more set wins where ReBoot only had 1 win so far. Now, out of the 6 matches they played. So now, item mode, this is where we talked about. Aura is really good at it, but so is ReBoot. So now ReBoot, they need to be able to beat Aura in their own game, as we see the player swaps coming in. Pure for ReBoot, load out.
We talked about this last week with Tech coming in for Aura, and how he's one of those players that I feel like has... I think he's made some of the most profound impacts, some of the coolest strategies, but doesn't get a lot of credit compared to flashier players like Banana. And I think that the truth is, Aura just isn't as reliant on him as a lot of other teams are, where they really need their item ace to come through. Like players like Lens, for example. You're like, okay, if Lens doesn't carry, like, are they going to do it? It's going to be rough, right?
Right.
Tech's like just another part of the wheel. Like, he's very good. His shot calling's amazing, but they're just such a solid team that you're like, okay, Tech is just another problem for us to deal with on ReBoot. It's not like if Tech has an off day that they're not going to win.
Yep. As we take a look at the item track list, we have My Magma Cavern, Istanbul Sunset Plaza, and Icebreaker Pass for the side of ReBoot. And we have Glacier Polar Halfpipe, Desert Pharaoh's Pass for Aura. The Glacier tracks are really popular in the item tracks today.
Yeah, they really are. An early half-pipe pickup, just like we saw in the previous series from Aura this time around. See how the strategy revolves around avoiding those water bombs and the angels you'll have to use in conjunction with them there to actually control those final spots. And if you can make the jump happen, that is one of the most interesting parts of Polar Halfpipe. You need to have a pretty strong lead to actually get that jump, but if you do, you're up there alone, nobody can threaten you. Even magnet usage just becomes somewhat irrelevant when you're up there by yourself with that much of a control. Amazing!
Yeah, for Aura. Aura is super amazing, our fans said. Hopefully Aura is able to continue their dominance in item mode, whereas ReBoot, they want to try to take the track off the Kings in My Magma Cavern.
Off we go. We'll see who hangs back here. Looks like Tech and Looning will be the ones to go for the double item, and advantage Tech will grab a magnet here with the Angel. Water Bomb still useful here, but not going to be as powerful as the magnet later on.
Right, and we see C's coming in with the Water Bomb, and Ding actually shielded that, thinking that might hit him, but the Water Bomb was a bit too far.
Yeah, I think he would have definitely avoided it, but just better safe than sorry to use a shield on lap 1. Not the end of the world.
Right, on the other hand, Hero with a amazing reaction time there was able to get past the Water Bomb with no problem at all.
I mean, everyone who's watching this who actually plays Kart Rider knows that it looks easy when you're watching it on the screen, but when you're doing it yourself, it is not like that. As Kosu might have hit by this magnet from Tech, who's trying to actually get a little bit of momentum here early. Doesn't have a second one, so heavy cost here, and actually will get caught by that missile as well. So Tech really shooting down in the standings here, and losing that critical magnet is going to hurt their chances.
Yeah, in fact, Tech fell all the way down to 8th place, so now Aura, they're really relying on Hero and Nog to keep this lead. Water Bomb, it was really close, but it was a bit too far back.
Yeah, Kosu here with the power of the Angel, going to try to push through here as a homing bomb will connect, but we're really neck and neck here at the front of the standings here, but no one has the magnet rush outside of Looning. He's the one who's holding on to it right now. Okay, I say that C's does pick one up too. So both teams having a really critical tool here to actually close this one out, but C's with the lead that he is looking to grab right now, I mean, it's going to be tough. UFO popped early, and we're getting very close now. C's will get caught.
My, that Water Bomb completely stopped the momentum there right as the magnet was popped as well.
Okay, so magnet used onto C's here, but can he actually just get the lead here? We'll wait here before popping. Now it's coming out. Tech also, magnet coming through. They're trading.
Oh, Looning with the Angel. He was able to sidestep the Water Bomb, but it's now Tech speeding across with the booster. Pure almost had it with the magnet rush.
Oh, Tech, just the timing of his items. You can see he's in his squad holding the chest here because it was a close one. Tech is going to be the one who looks the most calm, even though he was definitely the one under the most pressure there to actually make that happen, as 3 players on the enemy team of ReBoot were right on his heels, but he is able to pull it off at the end of the day and barely take the win here. The time difference is 0.1 between him and Pure. Very, very close.
I honestly thought Pure might be able to take that one, but as you said, Tech with the fantastic item usage, he's able to calculate even a 0.1 second difference, and that's why we keep highlighting Tech as potentially the best item ace in the league right now.
Yeah, he doesn't get the credit because his team is just so solid, like I was saying before.
Right.
But we'll see what happens in this final moment here. He has the Angel and is just able to push his way through as Pure actually collides with him during that boost. I think if Pure took a slightly wider, like slightly more to the right path, maybe he passes him, but it also means that he has to travel slightly more distance, so maybe he doesn't. It's a tough call for Pure there, but I think at the end of the day, really nice control.
Yep, and hopefully Aura is able to continue their lead because this next track is picked by Aura themselves. It is going to be in Glacier Polar Halfpipe. Off we go into track number 2 of item mode. Aura currently leading out 1-0 against ReBoot.
Kosu getting blocked by Tech actually for just a moment, so actually gets slightly delayed with his double item pickup. As, by the way, Tech, not only does he crush his way into first place, but he also has Magnet Rush on lap 1. So this is one of the tougher tracks to hold on to that because of all the water bomb value, but we'll see what he can do with it. As he can just kind of hang back and avoid UFOs and just kind of chill in top 3.
Definitely didn't use it when that half pipe came up, which would have been the ideal place to perhaps use the booster. So he's definitely playing the more holding on to it type of gameplay as we see Looning. They're just body checking each other right now.
Yeah, Tech just trying to deny items if he can because he knows he has the best setup right now. Sees also his teammate does have double magnet. He's going to use one right now.
Yeah, now Water Bomb's going to be able to catch 2 people, getting a lot of values. And look at the stack of the barricades.
Yeah, it's crazy, the barricade usage here. Basically, every AoE item of any type is going to be so powerful on this track of half-pipe. So even bananas, much more difficult to avoid. As Tech this is the second lap, so going to use a Nitro, a much easier item to pick up here to try to get a nice lead. We'll just avoid all the chaos so he can save that magnet. I actually like this call because he's got a whole nother lap to actually build that boost off of.
Yeah, now the UFO was able to slow down Tech. Tech picking up a water bomb, which is not what you want to have in the second place, so he slows down to get more usage out of it.
And now he's holding on to 2 magnets, still unable to get the Nitro that he's looking for, but Seas is holding on to his combo, and this is kind of wild right now as Kosu might actually want to hold on to this water bomb and use it in the final stretch here because in terms of item setup right now, I think Aura definitely with the better setup is Doc could just use one of his magnets now if he wants to.
Right. And it's Hero, the only one with the booster right now, and he does use it.
Ding
but no
on top.
teammate of his used the magnet to get up there with him, so it's Hero versus Ding up in the polar half pipe.
All right, Knock here trying to use that magnet to get the extra momentum. Is now Ding going to use his around this corner. Hero in control though, still has a magnet and the UFO EMP. No one can stop him. I think that's it.
Yeah, Hero with a crazy finish along with Tech coming in right into second place as we see the high fives being exchanged. Aura looking pretty solid.
Yeah, this was one of the more unusual item modes where a lot of the combos are used not to cross the finish line, but actually to try to get control of the top part of the half pipe where you actually get on the higher ground.
Right.
And so that a lot of items are used, so some unlikely heroes emerge, right? Because players like Ding are up there, and you've got the magnet being used from below, as you see, like, Hero trying to push his way through Tech as well, trying to hold on to control. And then slowly, you're just like, I'm there, I'm ahead. Everyone used their items to fight for control of the top higher ground, but I'm actually in first place. I've got a Angel, I've got EMP for any UFOs, like, no one can stop me. There's no answer to me now.
But there was an answer for the members of ReBoot who were trying to speed across the finish line because we saw a Water Wisp come in, and it was such a crucial timing where it landed, and at that point it was really easy for Aura to take that lead home.
Definitely true. Now Aura on match point here. So much control here in this series. We need to see a big bounce back here for ReBoot, or we are going to have a much faster series than our first one. Let's jump into Istanbul, Sunset Plaza. Off we go. Right now, Aura with a win in speed. 2 item tracks up. ReBoot might get 6-0'd here if they can't turn it around right now.
This is their track of choice for ReBoot, so if they want to come back, now is the time. We see Ding having a huge lead, but of course a Water Wisp is going to be sent out along with water bombs, a missile as well to stop the first place in their track.
Magnets being picked up here. Hero holding on to 2. See a magnet being popped, in fact, as it's not much use of holding on to both of those in lap 1. As, I mean, we're really stacked in terms of magnets across the board right now. C is also going to use one here. With the Angel, he's really trying to make a push here. Going to force out Looning's shield, too. As Aura, they didn't know they have such a stacked item setup right now. They're just willing to use it early. Oh, wow. That was a great angle.
Yeah, the angle was absolutely on point, getting a lot of members there. Now we have C strongly in the lead. Tech following not too far behind. It's interesting because Tech is not staying in the back to pick up the items. He's actually looking at a clutch play using a booster.
Yep. Storm is going to come out here, Lightning used. Hero caught. And Ding now trying to maintain this lead. awkwardly has an Angel here up in first place. Not exactly what he wants. He'd rather have a teammate use that one, but is going to try to maybe use his Magnet defensively here.
Oh, no. Dang, unfortunately, he got into such a bad line there, and now he's been set back so far behind. Now, it's pure leading out with Kosu. We see 2 Magnets being held by Kosu. He's got to pop one of them.
Yeah, he's going to have to pop one, and does hold on to an EMP, or rather a UFO. He's going to use it here, actually, just trying to get that second item here for the combo. Not a whole lot of value, unfortunately, in second lap UFO when everything is this close. You can see Ding pushing into first here. There's a UFO used onto him, but he's actually able to block Hero while in UFO animation. That's beautifully played.
So many blocks coming out there, putting emphasis on making sure Hero does not get ahead. However, it sees right now with the Angel and Booster, and we see so many Magnets across the board for every players.
Yeah, the Magnet rush here set up for Pure. Fighting for second right now as Tech doesn't have any Magnets. May just want to push the gap wider here with Double Nitro. Definitely wants to use one before this next and final item box here. Otherwise, he's not going to get another chance to cycle.
Oh, he didn't
blocked.
use it.
Yeah, and now he's magneted. But what can he do here around this final turn? 400 meters to go. One more item box picked up. Angel here set up.
Oh, the Angel was able to block out the water bomb, and then it's Nox who manages to speed across all the way into the finish line. A clean 3-0 sweep for Aura.
Yeah, just really nicely using the Angel there. We saw some really great plays across the roster. Ding also having that heroic play when he was caught by the UFO, really creating some disruption, forcing Hero to use his items early, but item mode, man, this team has no weaknesses. I feel like Aura is just a team that has players who are of arguably lower caliber than Guangdong and the Sandbox, but the way they approach the game, the way they look at Kartrider Drift is really similar, and you could almost call it classic. You know, the way they look at it is very standard play, nothing too flashy. They just understand the game extremely well, and I think that as these players continue to grow, this is going to be a powerhouse team for sure. A ReBoot will drop down to a 2-4 score here, so chances not looking good for them for making it to postseason. Aura, on the other hand, jumping up to 4 wins is a huge boon for them. And not only the 4 wins, but a very one-sided +6 to their scoreline as well. If they end up tying with the team, this +6 is definitely going to push them closer to taking that tiebreaker themselves.
Yeah, that 4-2 is actually going to put them at the same position as Rocks Esports, who's in 3rd place. As we take a look at the replay, this was the moment when that banana from C's was so sneaky, but it got the job done.
Yeah, in this final moment here, Tech getting in the collision, unfortunately, but Doc is able to push his way through here very calmly, takes that inner part against the wall so no one can pass him from the right side. If you want to pass him from the far right side, you take too much distance, so just having great knowledge of the track there with the protection used. Well played. I mean, Aura, this team is really good. Now, their final opponent is going to be KWANGDONGFREECS, so that's going to be one final test for them, and maybe the best chance anyone is going to have this season of taking a series off of KWANGDONGFREECS. Otherwise, Guangdong might just go 7-0, so that matchup I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, Aura, they've only lost the item mode to Live Sandbox, and it was a dominating defeat, getting 0-3'd. However, if you look at the standings, they did great today, and just look at the difference they have in the set and round wins compared to Rocks. I feel like they've really secured themselves a nice spot in that 3rd place, unless Rocks is able to take a win.
Yeah, Rocks having that 0 there is just, it's so indicative of their weakness in item mode.
Right.
And that's the difference between Aura and Rocks right now. Yeah, both these teams are 4-2, but Aura clearly has a versatile knowledge of Kartrider Drift, whereas Rocks still hasn't been able to patch that hole yet. And who knows? Season's not over yet. Rocks still, because of this loss for ReBoot, very likely to go to postseason, to go to playoffs. If ReBoot wins this, Rocks is a little bit scared. Like, uh-oh, okay, now I have to compete with Aura and ReBoot. This is really frustrating. Now Rocks is like, all right, unless something crazy happens here, I'm basically mathematically guaranteed. And I mean, the worst they could do is 4-3. So I think actually that is the guarantee.
Yeah.
Like looking at this actually and thinking about it a little bit more, I think we now have our 4 teams in playoffs, like straight up.
It's finalized. Our top 4 teams is going to be KWANGDONGFREECS, Live Sandbox, Aura, and Rocks moving up. And if you take a look at their names and the type of matches they've shown us so far, it's no surprise that it's these 4 teams that made it into the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one standout who didn't make it, I think, was Sensation, right? Because they were a team that had a stacked lineup, they had a Hojun, right? But they lost all of those critical ace matches.
Right.
The big standout, too, is if you look at their rounds, which is their amount of tracks won and lost, compared to the other teams near them, they have the lowest number, like -7 compared to -15, -13, even -10 from Planet. It's because they showed that consistency, right? And were able to force it to so many ace matches. All of their losses were close, and that's the most frustrating part about not making playoffs for Sensation, because you win a few more of those ace matches, and we're talking about them. Maybe we're not talking about Rocks, you know? So teams got to improve their item mode for the next season. You got to improve the item mode.
That's why we began here in Kart Rider Drift in Preseason 1, followed by so many more seasons to come for the teams to be able to finally start seeing their results of practice and play, and really start to be able to analyze where the mistakes and the weaknesses come from. And as you said, so far it's mostly the item modes, because ace matches, I can't really say losing those a lot necessarily make that a weakness, because I feel like ace matches are always so close, and no matter how good you are, one crucial mistake could be the end.
Yeah, the ace match is the one aspect of team matches that is not a team mode. Like, it's not actually about your team. So it's about that player's specific confidence and condition and performance on the day. And it's really important to have a player who can play that mode extremely well, because that's what puts the W on the board, it puts the L on the board if you end up losing that one. We did talk about how we have our top four teams decided now for postseason or playoffs. I mean, we use both terms here in Korea. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we know in which place these teams will finish, because there's still a lot of movement that could potentially happen. KWANGDONGFREECS undefeated right now, but still 2 matches left to play, Aura being one of their opponents. And your seed going into that will determine your opponent for the first part of said postseason. So there's still important matches to play. And even teams who are already eliminated will play all of their games, because it is a regular season format with round robin, so all matches will be played. So if you're like, I missed it, I missed the end of the season for my team, not necessarily, unless you missed Sensation earlier, in which case, unfortunately, you're going to have to watch the VOD, and their season does end here. And obviously a lot of these players on eliminated teams are still in the solo matches, which we'll get to a little bit later on. But it's been a really cool regular season. I think we knew Live Sandbox and Kwangno were probably going to make it. But I feel like that was the one thing we knew for sure. Like, we felt confident, like, I would really stake a lot on this. That came true. But everything else for the rest of our 6 teams, there was a lot of surprises, I'd say.
Yeah, speaking of surprises, we can definitely point out Aura as being such a strong team so far in both their item modes and also their and the speed modes. They've only had to play 1 ace match so far, thanks to their consistency. And I feel like another side of surprising thing is Rocks, who had so many wins coming in just from their ace matches. Jung being that factor that they needed, unlike Sensation, where they also had so many ace matches, but they lost them so many times, and they're in the bottom 4. It's the complete opposite story.
Yeah, I feel like Rocks and Sensation, like you said, could have had opposite results, and we'd be like, oh yeah, Sensation, weakened item mode, they'll have to fix that for postseason. Now we're saying the same thing about Rocks. And these 2 teams will have to tighten it up if they want to be considered up with the likes of Kwangdong and Live Sandbox right now. Because for me, I'm ready to put Aura in that conversation. Like,
Yeah.
or they maybe are like slightly below them, like maybe 1 tier. Like if Kwangdong and Live Sandbox are S, like I put Aura at A right now, and then there's a wider gap between the rest of the teams. But I'm ready to have the conversation of, like, these teams belong together in terms of their mastery of all modes. And it's high praise for Aura considering the dominance of those 2 teams. And there's still a lot of time left. Like, they have that final match against Kwangdong, which is one they'll definitely prepare for.
That's the one.
If they win that one, then we really have to have a conversation about what the best team is going into postseason. But that's, of course, going to happen in our final team matches. What will happen in just a moment's time is going to be our winners finals for solos. So do not go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to have that epic match.